Today's video is proudly sponsored by Squarespace. Everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Business Class, a new series where I'm going to be sharing my knowledge as an entrepreneur on how it is to grow a business and become a content creator or entrepreneur. If you're new here, my name is Kaelyn. I am a professional equestrian turned academic and entrepreneur. I'm currently pursuing my PhD in History and African American Studies at Yale University while working as a product manager and entrepreneur. I have founded several businesses throughout my life, but have scaled a consulting service up to 6 figures, started an online community, and have a personal brand and business that I use in order to create content and manage business clients. So I've had a couple different businesses in my time, and today I want to share with you my entire entrepreneurial journey. As we jump into the series, I thought that I could start with a beginner overview of how to start a business, and that episode is absolutely coming, but I think it's important to provide a little bit of context. Oftentimes in my videos, I talk about being a PhD student, I talk about my job, and I don't often talk about my businesses. And this is something that people have asked me to talk about in more depth in my videos, and I've always felt a little uncomfortable doing it. I don't really feel like I have the credibility. But after having conversations with friends and managing coaching clients of my own, I've realized that I've accumulated quite a lot of knowledge over the years of being an entrepreneur. And also when taking a step back and zooming out, I realized that there's actually several businesses that I have started, and that part of the experience of being an entrepreneur is experiencing consistent failure and learning from those failures. And I think that those failed businesses that I started in my teen years or in my early 20s have been formative in my ability to create the businesses that I have today. In the first episode of Business Class, we are going to be going over my own entrepreneurial journey and how it is that I built a 6-figure consulting business while starting my PhD. First, let's jump into the origin story and what I'm calling the Entrepreneur at Heart chapter. My first entrepreneurial adventure was when I was 8 years old, and my sister and I actually hosted a dog show in our backyard. We had this dog, his name was Bud, and he could jump the moon. We wanted to host a dog show for all of the local dogs and their owners, or more specifically, their kids. We went and we put flyers all around the town. We went to people's doors and told them that we were hosting a dog show. And my mother and stepfather did not learn about this until the day before. And we were going to be selling snacks. We were going to be selling entrance tickets. It was a whole ordeal. And while it was not the most profitable, I would say that that was an indication of my delusion in starting businesses, because basically every step of the way as I've started businesses, as I've grown businesses, I think a key element is a little bit of intentional delusion, just the pure self-belief that I can make it work. Whether it did or didn't, that didn't really matter, because I've had several businesses like my dog show that failed. The second business that I started was when I was 16 years old, and I actually started a horse treat company with my sister and best friend. It was called Dolce Dream Cake Company, and if I can find it, I will show you the logo that we created for it, which was very silly and amateur, but I even got a copy of it printed up on a magnet that we put on the side of my mom's van. And we made these cupcakes that were edible for horses. We did all of this research and we collected all of these ingredients, and I went to the local horse show at Stanford and asked if we could sponsor an event, if we could go and present our treats and sell them, which is wild and probably actually not legal. But we ended up actually serving at 2 different horse shows that year, and we were baking treats for, I kid you not, 72 hours straight. And I was doing most of it because my sister and my friend were not the most reliable business partners. It basically broke even. There was a lot of money spent on ingredients and testing that we didn't necessarily see a return on, but we had several recurring customers. And through that, I learned the basic skills of marketing and salesmanship. I just got the entrepreneurial bug. I knew that I wanted to start another business someday. Now, I was also a horseback rider, an avid horse lover. And when I went and became a professional rider, the one dream that I always had was having my own training business. Now, when I went off from community college and transferred to UCLA, there was one specific client who I had worked with when she was I think 12 and 13. And her parents basically came to me and said, we want to work with you one-on-one. We want you to be her private trainer. And so that was the beginning and the birth of Grayson Farms. So Grayson Farms was co-owned by myself and my sister, and we had one client. We built an entire social media presence around the one horse and the one client. And we actually had several leads for clients that wanted to sign on with us, that wanted to come to horse shows with us. And ultimately, the reason that business collapsed was because I was traveling back and forth between UCLA and Northern California. I would travel back probably every other week, and it just wasn't sustainable. It wasn't terribly profitable because of how much money we were spending on me flying back and forth. And ultimately, my sister wanted something different. She wanted a full-time job with a little bit more stability, which is totally fair. And so Grayson Farms ended up closing. And that is when we get to 2019. This is when I had just graduated from UCLA and was planning on leaving for my master's at the University of Oxford. One really important thing about my journey to Oxford was that I was a community college dropout before this. I had been a rather terrible student. I had a very low GPA at the beginning of my community college degree. I had to really make it up in order to transfer. And so when I got into Oxford, I was just shocked. I was surprised when I got into UCLA, but even more so when I got into Oxford, because I knew that Oxford was a very competitive school to get into. As a non-traditional student who had had 2 careers before ever going to college, I had worked as a professional athlete. I had also worked in medical device regulatory research, and I just felt like I didn't have the same type of life experience and academic experience as my peers. And I wanted to share my journey as a community college student who made it to Oxford for a graduate degree. And that is when I started my YouTube channel. And this is when we come to chapter number 2 of this video, which is the why. Back in the summer of 2019, I decided that I was going to start my YouTube channel. I was going to create an entire roadmap to build a business within the next 3 years. And what's funny is that at the time, I was watching creators like Ali Abdaal and Grace Beverly and others who had created businesses while they were in school. What I took from that was that if they could do it, that meant that there was a roadmap. So I basically reverse engineered how it is that they had started their businesses. When I created my YouTube channel, I was really focused on sharing the journey, but also creating resources for students. And this is what the why really comes down to, was that I wanted to create resources for students with non-traditional experiences in the academy that had come to their studies through non-traditional means. So whether they were a first generation student, or they were a mature student, or they had started their career in academia on rough footing, I wanted to provide resources through my YouTube channel. And so that's what I did. I started creating videos, not just vlogs and things. I recorded my experience at Oxford, but I was also trying to create resources like how to write a statement of purpose, how to write a college essay. Ultimately, I started getting leads. And that is what leads us to chapter 3 of my business journey, which is organic growth. So first and foremost, when I started making these videos, I put out a call during the video, basically saying, if you are applying, if you need support, if you need a friend, send me an email, we'll set up a call. And at first, when I started my YouTube channel, mind you, I only had like 30 subscribers by the time I made it to Oxford. And I that time, I think I'd posted probably 10 to 20 videos. I started getting emails from people. Then I started offering these free calls. And one of these calls included my friend Katie, who's going to be very important for later in this video. But I started taking these free calls my first term at Oxford. This is what is known as Michaelmas term. So between about October and December, I had started doing these free calls. Now, my channel started to grow because I had the SEO benefit of being at Oxford. People were searching for Oxford and they would find my channel. So I did start to grow, but I was growing really slowly. I think I would grow about 20 to 30 subscribers a week. I was posting twice a week. I was really adamant about maintaining a schedule, and I started getting a flood of emails. So it went from maybe getting an email a week to getting an email a day. And then I was getting like 5, 8 emails a day. And that's when it started to get really overwhelming. And I realized that my plan to start a business that would, really kick off in earnest over the next 3 years was really kicking off under 6 months into the process. And that is when I started doing paid calls. So I started charging $20 a call. I used PayPal. It started to build a business. I started collecting clients and I started reviewing people's applications. And then March 2020 hit. This was the height of the COVID pandemic. I came home to California and I decided that because I was having such high demand that I was going to have to create a formal business. And that is the birth of Accepted Consulting. Accepted Consulting started with free services and low ticket paid services that then turned into a real business. And when I say a real business, I mean I had a website. And that is what leads me to the sponsor of today's video, which is Squarespace. So Squarespace is an online website builder that I used in order to build every single one of my websites. When I started my first website, I used a template that they had available through Squarespace and built out the first edition of the Accepted Consulting site. Basically, all that I needed was a way for people to book calls and to make payments. I also wanted to be able to host free webinars. And because of all the integrations and plugins, Squarespace made it really easy for me to build my first website. And this is what the Accepted website looks like today. There are so many different features and customizations within Squarespace that I have used them for the past 5 years and have been able to create digital products, courses, memberships, and services through Squarespace that have made it possible for me to manage and build a 6-figure business while in graduate school. So if you're interested in starting a business and starting a website today, then go ahead and check out Squarespace with a discount on your website or domain. Now let's talk about the birth of Accepted Society. I started Accepted Consulting in a formal way in March of 2020. That is when I built the website. And then in September of 2020, I started my PhD at Yale. I started my PhD alone, thousands of miles away from my friends, my family, and I was incredibly isolated in my own apartment with my dog Moo. And that is when I decided to start these accountability workshops. And this was a co-working session that I would post, and I would do them a couple of times a week. Somebody would just pay $5 in order for them to come and show up. There would only be a couple of seats because I really wanted it to be a close-knit experience. And I also wanted to ensure that the people that were signing up were actually going to show up, which meant that if they just paid a minor fee, then they could come and they could attend a study session. And it just grew. And so many people really loved the sessions and it grew this incredible community. I met people like my friend Lainey and Sandro and Danielle and people that I just can't believe that I get to have in my life because I created these study sessions. And they just continued to grow. And ultimately, I decided that maybe I should do more of these and maybe I should formalize it, which is what leads me to chapter 4, which is growth. I made my first hire for Accepted Consulting and Accepted Society in January of 2021. And I hired my first ever client, Katie. Now, if you've watched my videos for any period of time, you know that Katie has become my best friend, but she was also somebody that I really believed embodied the mission that I was on, that I wanted to create resources for non-traditional students that had a unique perspective, that had a unique experience in the academy, and she absolutely embodied that. And so I brought her on as a consultant for transfer students, but she became so much more than that. She helped me with marketing materials. We would lead workshops together, and we were really a solid dynamic duo for months until we started hiring more. In the year of 2021, I hired a total of 7 people. First was Katie, then was Chloe, Danielle, Maya, Alani, and Chanel. Now, everyone that I hired was somebody that I met because of a close connection or because they really knocked my socks off during the interview process. I did not know what I was doing when I was hiring. I was ultimately just looking for people that I thought really embodied the mission. I will say that as a guiding principle led me to some really incredible people. Not only did I get to work with people that were my friends, but I also got to build a business with people that represented the types of clients that I wanted to attract. So we hosted free workshops, we created essay templates, we created a bunch of digital products and services under Accepted Consulting and Accepted Society. In 2022 was when we really decided to scale. We really focused on marketing, which meant that we created an email newsletter, we created social media content, we focused on how it is that we were leveraging my YouTube audience and my YouTube channel in order to convert leads. And this was our most successful year yet. 2022 was the year that we hit six figures. It was also, in my opinion, the worst year in my business because when scaling, I lost the heart of the mission of the business. And this is partially why I wanted to create this business class series, because this is one of my big lessons learned as an entrepreneur that created a quote unquote successful business, is that I wish I had not scaled. The reason I say that is because at the peak of Accepted Consulting, I believe we had 15 total team members on the Accepted Consulting, Accepted Society team. And the reason I say that I regret this is because ultimately it took me further and further away from the things that I really loved about the business, which was working with really incredible clients, which was really honing in on the mission of working with non-traditional students, and 3, getting to work with really incredible people on the team. Now, we had a team of 15 people that were all incredible go-getting women, but because we were such a big team and we were global and we were remote, I felt so disconnected and I felt like I had to act as a leader in this hierarchical position that was not suited to me. I felt really uncomfortable with it, and I hated having to give direction that was focused on profit. I ended up making decisions about the courses and the services that I don't agree with today. Part of the reason that we did this was because in 2020, the first year of the business, I had a total of 80 clients that I managed completely by myself. I managed the website, the scheduling, the admin, the clients themselves, their documents, all while starting the first year of my PhD. In the second year, in 2021, we helped over 100 clients with the addition of 3 consultants. However, I was still managing 80% of those clients. So even though we were hiring a lot, I was still taking on a significant portion of the business. And in 2022, even though we expanded the team significantly, I still took up 50% of our clientele, and that wasn't going to be sustainable. We had nearly 300 clients that year. Now, if you do the math, that is nearly 150 clients that I was working with over the year of 2022. And as you might be able to tell, that was not manageable. It was not sustainable. I was not enjoying the work that I was doing because I wasn't able to really focus on the individual clients. But the problem was that we had such a big staff and we had so many administrative needs because of how many clients that we had that the costs kept rising. And so we had to either keep bringing in clients or we had to raise the prices. However, there was a third door that I did not see. I could have rejected the idea of scaling. I could have focused on doing what we did really well and honing in on it. And I didn't do that. And that is what led to what I call the collapse of 2023. So in 2023, I really struggled because we were making decisions, or rather, I was making decisions for the business that were based on these factors whereby I was worried about growth. I was worried about profit and how much was being spent on staff and was being spent on website hosting and Zoom accounts and all of those things. And ultimately took a step back in about July of 2023, realized that my team was not very happy, that I was really not happy. Ultimately recognized that this isn't the path that I wanted to keep going down. And so I decided to close down Accepted Consulting. However, what I decided in that moment was to double down on Accepted Society, because one thing that I'm reminded continuously over the years is how much being in community and having that connection that helps offer a space that isn't isolating, that isn't in a way ostracizing, is so important to my experience as a graduate student and is so important to others. And while getting into graduate school is a massive step, it's a massive achievement, The thing that I really wanted to focus on was supporting non-traditional students through academia. That is when I decided to reaffirm the mission by focusing on accepted society. That's what leads me to 2024. In 2024, I really focused on keeping the business small. I wanted a small and intimate and passionate team, and that is what I have. We have a small team of just 6 people, including myself, and this includes my business partner, Kate. I started Accepted Society on my own, but in 2024, I realized that for the growth of the business, I really wanted a business partner. And I wanted a way to build the business that was going to rely on my strengths, but wasn't going to be hindered by my weaknesses. As an entrepreneur, you realize what it is that you're good at and also what you are not good at. And certain things that I was not good at was managing the administrative background of Accepted. Things like the legal entity, dealing with the accountants, managing the staff, managing the paperwork side of the business was not my strong suit. However, customer success, product development, marketing, website development, those are the things that lights my soul on fire and makes me really excited. Working directly with students, working directly with the community is something that I absolutely love. And so that is why I decided to partner with my best friend, Kate. Now, Kate was a former client of Accepted Consulting, and she embodies what Accepted Society is at its core, which is a space to combat isolation in academia and provide the tools and the resources and the support for non-traditional students and non-traditional ways of thinking. It was the best business decision I have ever made. I have stumbled many a time in my entrepreneurial career, but ever since making this decision and really focusing on my strengths and leveraging what I've learned from running Accepted Consulting, from having businesses in the past, and knowing what I did well, we have grown Accepted Society significantly. We have increased our recurring membership by 50% in the 3 months since we decided to announce the co-ownership. And I think that that is in no small part because I feel like I am reinvested in the mission and the why. And I keep asking myself why it is that we're making certain decisions and whether or not that is because of external pressure, that is because of the desire for external validation. Becoming an entrepreneur is one of the most humbling experiences you will ever have. However, in the process, you will learn so much about yourself. And as a result, I have actually been able to build up business coaching clients to share my experiences, not only with social media marketing and how to create and generate leads to online communities and build services, but to share my experiences and to share them in an honest and earnest way. Thank you for listening and for holding space for me. This video has been one that I've wanted to create for a long time, but felt quite insecure to post. But I think it's really important to share all of the different facets of not just my life as an academic, but also to share how it is that I have grown and built these businesses. So that way, hopefully it encourages you to take a little bit of risk in order to start your own. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, friends.